Hello, this is Andrea Hendricks. I want to talk about how you can use even and odd properties to evaluate trig functions. So we need to go back to our college algebra days to remember what an even and odd function are. Do you remember that an even function means that f of negative x is equal to f of x for all x in the domain? In other words, a value of x and its opposite have the same y values or equal y values. The graph of that one is symmetric with respect to the y-axis. And we'll look at the graphs of trig functions later on, and this will come up again. An odd function is defined when f of negative x is equal to the opposite of f of x. That is, opposite x values have opposite y values. These functions are symmetric with respect to the origin. Well, let's look at the unit circle for just a minute to talk about that. So, if we have an angle here, which we'll call x, and an angle here, which is negative x. Well, what's true? Notice that the x values are the same, but the y values are opposite. So that means that the cosine is even, but the sine is odd. Okay? So I've stated that here. We have that the cosine of negative t is equal to the cosine of t, which means that that function is even, which also means its reciprocal secant is even. The sine of negative t is equal to the opposite of sine t, which means that it's an odd function, and hence cosecant is odd as well. Now the tangent of negative t is going to be negative tangent of t, which will make that an odd function, and cotangent odd as well. Now think about that, because tangent of negative t would be sine of negative t over cosine of negative t. We know that sine is odd, so that's going to be negative sine t. Cosine is even, so that's going to be cosine of t. But so the opposite of sine over cosine is going to make that the opposite of tangent. Okay, so it makes that odd. Now, let's just use the given value that we have to evaluate the indicated functions. So you can have a few exercises like this in your homework. So if cosine t is negative 3/4, what would be the value of cosine of negative t? Alright, they're even functions, so the cosine of negative t is going to be that same value, which is negative 3/4. Now what about the secant? Well, secant is the reciprocal of cosine, right? So this is really 1 over cosine negative t, which is the same thing as 1 over cosine of t, because it's even. So that would be 1 over negative 3/4. We multiply and invert, we get negative 4/3. Okay? Now, let me just put one more illustration up here for you real quick. What if we knew that the sine of t was equal to 3/7? What would the sine of negative t be? Right, it'd have to be the opposite of that, which would be negative 3/7. And what about the cosecant of negative t? So it would be 1 over the sine of negative t, which is 1 over the opposite of sine t, so we already know what sine of negative t is, negative 3/7, so we'd have 1 over negative 3/7. So multiplying by the reciprocal gives us a negative 7/3. Okay? So not a hard application as long as you understand the even and odd concept. So if you have any questions about this exercise, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thanks.